My name is Elena Morales, and for a long time, I thought I was the luckiest woman alive. When I look back now, I almost laugh at how blind I was, not because I was stupid, but because I believed. Believed in love, in loyalty, in family. And worst of all, I believed in my sister. From the outside, everything about my life looked perfect. A stable job, a cozy home, a fiancé everyone adored. Adam was kind, patient, and made me feel safe in a way I hadn't known since childhood. He wasn't flashy or overly romantic, just consistent, grounding, the kind of man you imagine growing old with. And then there was Sophie, my younger sister, the golden child. The one who turned heads when she entered a room. Where I was thoughtful, she was bold. Where I hesitated, she conquered. We were opposites, yet somehow inseparable. Or so I thought. Our parents used to say, "You two are like two sides of the same heart." It used to make me proud. Now it makes me sick. When Adam proposed, Sophie was the first person I called. She screamed into the phone, cried, told me I deserved the world. I still remember her voice shaking when she said, "You're the lucky one, Lena. You found real love." If only I had listened closer to how she said it. There was something in her tone, a flicker of envy, maybe, but I brushed it off. I was too busy floating. From that moment, Sophie took charge of everything. The engagement party, the dress fittings, even the honeymoon suggestions. She was everywhere, smiling, laughing, helping. Everyone said I was lucky to have such a devoted sister. I agreed. I had no idea she was building her own love story behind mine. The first time I noticed something strange was at dinner one night. It was just the three of us, Adam, Sophie, and me. We were talking about wedding details, joking about who would cry first during the vows. Adam laughed at one of Sophie's jokes, that kind of laugh that makes a man forget he's not alone. It was small, harmless. But then he touched her wrist. Not a long touch, not even deliberate. Just natural. Familiar. I saw it, and something inside me tightened. But I told myself I was paranoid. I told myself, they're just comfortable. They're family now. Denial is such a kind liar. In the weeks that followed, Sophie started showing up at our apartment more often. Always with some excuse, to drop off bridal samples, to discuss seating charts, to help Adam fix something. And I, being the trusting idiot I was, never questioned it. If anything, I admired her dedication. Sometimes I'd walk in after work and find them in the kitchen, laughing over a glass of wine. Once, I remember she was wearing one of my sweaters. One Adam had gifted me. I froze for half a second, and Sophie looked up, smiling like nothing was wrong. "You don't mind, do you?" "It's so soft." I said I didn't, but I minded. I minded deeply. The cracks began to show slowly. Adam grew distant. The morning texts turned shorter, the goodnight kisses lazier, the excuses longer. He said he was stressed, that wedding planning was overwhelming. But something about his eyes changed, like he was there, but already gone. I remember one night in particular, the night that changed everything. I came home late from work to find Adam sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone. He didn't notice me right away. When he did, he smiled, but it was empty. I asked what he was looking at. He said, "Just messages from your sister. She's confirming the vendor payments." That's when I saw it. A photo flash on his screen, a selfie. Sophie's face. Her lips slightly parted, her shoulders bare. It wasn't explicit, but it was wrong. So wrong. I stood there frozen, trying to process whether I had actually seen what I thought I saw. He quickly locked his phone and changed the subject. And I said nothing, because saying it out loud would make it real. The next day, I tried to confront Sophie casually. We were at a cafe, finalizing table arrangements, and I brought it up like a joke. "You text Adam a lot these days, I should start getting jealous." She didn't even blink. She looked up from her coffee and smirked. "Relax, Lena. Not everyone's after your fiancé." Her tone was playful, but her eyes? Cold, amused. Like she was testing me. I should have known then, but I didn't. Because sisters don't do that, right? Right? A week before the wedding, things spiraled. Adam became distant to the point of cruelty. He wouldn't touch me. He barely looked at me. And every time Sophie walked into a room, something invisible shifted in the air, like I was suddenly a ghost. I told myself it was wedding stress, cold feet, fatigue, anything but betrayal. But the truth was already alive, breathing between them, waiting for me to see it. And I finally did. The night before the wedding, my mom organized a small dinner at our family home. Everyone was there, laughing, drinking, reminiscing. I stepped out to the garden for some air and saw them, Adam and Sophie, in the reflection of the glass doors. He was standing close, whispering something in her ear. She smiled. That smile. That slow, dangerous smile that said, "I've already won." And in that moment, I felt it. Not jealousy. Not suspicion. Certainty. I didn't confront them that night. I didn't scream, didn't cry. I just stood there, watching the two people I loved most become strangers before my eyes. And all I could think was, he said he loved me. She said she'd never hurt me. But their bodies already told the truth. The morning of the wedding was supposed to be the happiest of my life. Instead, it felt like a performance I no longer wanted to be in. When I woke up, I told myself I was being dramatic, that my nerves were twisting the truth, that the image of Adam whispering to Sophie was just bad timing. Denial, again, doing what it does best. Tucking reality under the rug, pretending it isn't bleeding. The house was alive with noise. My mother was crying happy tears. My father, who barely shows emotion, hugged me twice that morning. Everyone kept saying how beautiful the day was, how perfect the two of us were together. I smiled. I posed. I nodded. But inside, I was already grieving a love that hadn't even made it to the altar. Sophie entered my dressing room an hour before the ceremony, radiant as ever. She wore a pale rose dress that clung to her body like it had been designed just for her. Maybe it had been. Her hair was loose, framing her face with that effortless sensuality I used to admire. She carried a tray with orange juice and croissants. "For the bride," she said sweetly. I stared at her reflection in the mirror. She was smiling, but there was something different in that smile, a glimmer of triumph she didn't bother hiding anymore. Maybe she thought I was too naive to notice. Or maybe she wanted me to. I forced a smile. "You seem happier than I am." She laughed softly. "I just want you to have the perfect day, Lena. You deserve it." Her words were syrup over poison, every syllable coated with something that made my skin crawl. When she helped me with the veil, her fingers brushed the back of my neck, slow, deliberate, almost intimate. And in that tiny gesture, I felt it again. That silent, invisible war she was waging against me. The one I hadn't agreed to fight, but was already losing. The ceremony took place in an old vineyard outside the city. An ocean of white roses, gold chairs, string lights woven through the trees. It looked like something out of a dream, cruelly beautiful, perfectly staged for tragedy. When I walked down the aisle, I searched for Adam's eyes. He smiled when he saw me, but it wasn't the same smile. There was guilt in it. Guilt and something worse, resignation. Like he was standing there out of obligation, not love. I wanted to turn around. I wanted to run, but the hundreds of eyes watching me kept me frozen. So I walked toward the man who was about to ruin me. When the officiant asked, "Do you take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband?" I said I do. And when it was his turn, Adam hesitated. Just a second, barely noticeable. But I saw it. Everyone else thought it was emotion, maybe nerves. But I knew. That pause wasn't love, it was indecision. And in that heartbeat of silence, I realized he didn't choose me. He settled for me. We kissed to the sound of applause. And for the rest of the evening, I played the role of a happy bride while my stomach twisted in knots. The reception was elegant, romantic. Everything we planned, which made it worse. There were toasts, laughter, music. Sophie never left his side. She danced with him 3 times, more than any of my friends. She said it was because she wanted to keep him company while I mingled. Every time I looked at them, they looked away too quickly. Every time I approached, their conversation stopped mid-sentence. They thought they were subtle. They weren't. Later that night, I escaped to the balcony, desperate for air. The vineyard stretched out under the moonlight, silent and endless. Behind me, I could still hear the faint echoes of laughter and music. And then, footsteps. Adam's voice. "There you are. Everyone's asking for you." He stood beside me, close enough to touch, but somehow miles away. I turned to him, searching for something, an explanation, a reassurance, anything. "Do you love me, Adam?" He looked caught off guard. "What kind of question is that?" "A simple one," I said. "Do you love me?" He looked past me toward the horizon before whispering, "Of course I do." Don't be dramatic. But it was flat. Empty. The kind of lie that echoes. And that's when I knew for sure, whatever was between us was gone. And Sophie had taken it. That night in the bridal suite, my wedding night, the silence was unbearable. He barely spoke, barely looked at me. When I tried to touch him, he flinched, said he was exhausted, that we'd talk in the morning. Then he rolled to the edge of the bed and fell asleep instantly. I stared at the ceiling for hours, the white dress draped over a chair like a ghost. My wedding bouquet on the nightstand, wilting faster than it should have. It felt like the universe was mocking me. At some point, I must have drifted off, because I woke up to a sound. Soft, rhythmic, footsteps on the hallway floor. The clock said 2:43 a.m. Adam's side of the bed was empty. My chest tightened. My breath came shallow. For a moment, I tried to believe he'd just gone to the bathroom or to get water. But then I heard something else, a faint laugh, a woman's laugh. It came from the guest wing, and it was unmistakable. Sophie. Every step I took toward that sound felt like walking into my own grave. The hallway was long, dimly lit. My bare feet were trembling on the cold wood floor. The laughter stopped, replaced by a whisper. Then another. Then silence. I reached Sophie's door and stopped. The handle was slightly open, and through the narrow gap, I saw what I will never unsee. His hand on her bare thigh, her lips pressed to his neck, their bodies tangled in the bed sheets like the rest of the world didn't exist. My husband, my sister. It wasn't the moaning that destroyed me. It was the laughter, that small, shared, intimate laughter, the kind lovers have when they think no one's watching. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stood there, frozen, my whole body shaking, my soul splintering into dust. Because how do you react when betrayal wears both your last name and your future? When they noticed me standing there, everything stopped. Adam went pale. Sophie gasped and tried to cover herself. No words, no excuses. Just the raw, ugly silence of being caught. I didn't ask why. I didn't demand explanations. Because there are some betrayals that don't deserve words. I simply said, "You could have waited until after the wedding night." And I left. I walked barefoot through the garden, through the dirt and cold air, still wearing my wedding ring, each step heavier than the last. By the time I reached the main road, the hem of my dress was brown with mud, and I didn't even care. My sister's smile had told me the truth long before Adam did, but now I had seen it with my own eyes. That smile wasn't love, it was victory, and I had finally lost. I didn't cry that night, not once. Tears would have made it feel temporary, like the pain could be rinsed away. No, I stayed still, frozen, and in that stillness, something inside me snapped back into place. Not my heart, but my spine. By sunrise, I wasn't the broken bride anymore. I was the woman who was going to make both of them regret confusing my silence for weakness. The first thing I did was disappear. No calls, no messages. I left my phone, my keys, everything behind except the ring, because symbols have power when you know how to use them. While they scrambled to find me, I was already planning. My mother called 32 times. Adam called 7. Sophie called once. I didn't answer any of them, but I listened to every voicemail, their lies stacking like bricks around my resolve. 3 days later, I went back to the apartment. Adam was there, looking wrecked but not remorseful enough. He started with the usual script. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. We were drunk. I just watched him talk himself in circles. Then I smiled. "You're right, Adam. It was a mistake, but not the one you think." He blinked. "What do you mean?" "The mistake wasn't what you did. It was who you did it with." He frowned, confused, while I walked past him and opened my laptop. I had the photos ready, the ones I took from Sophie's phone backup that synced to our shared family cloud. Yes, the same cloud she used to share baby pictures with Mom. Genius. A few keystrokes, and every contact in our families had an email. Subject: for those who missed the honeymoon. Attached. Proof. By the time Adam realized what was happening, it was already done. The next explosion came from my parents. My mother called, hysterical. My father, silent, which was worse. And Sophie? She sent one text. "How could you do this to me?" To her, not "I'm sorry," not "please don't." Just pure, unfiltered entitlement. That text was all the confirmation I needed. Then came phase 2, exposure, public and permanent. Adam worked at an architecture firm where reputation was everything. Sophie freelanced as a relationship blogger. Poetic, right? I didn't need to lie, truth was already the perfect weapon. A few anonymous tips to HR about inappropriate conduct with a family member, plus screenshots of time-stamped messages, and suddenly both their worlds started cracking. Adam got put on temporary leave pending investigation. Sophie's blog comments turned into a battlefield of disgust. By the end of the week, her sponsors dropped her, all without me saying a single word in public. When I finally met them again, it was at my parents' house. My mother demanded it. "You can't destroy each other like this." But she didn't understand. I wasn't destroying anything. I was finishing what they started. Sophie sat on the couch, eyes swollen, pretending to cry. Adam stood near the door, jaw tight, pretending to be brave. I walked in, placed the wedding ring on the table, and said, "You can keep it. It already fits you both." My father turned away, unable to look at any of us. My mother whispered, "Lena, please stop." But I wasn't angry anymore. I was calm. Too calm. "I have stopped," I said. "This is me stopping." Then I looked at Sophie. Really looked. The sister I once shared everything with, even dreams. Now she just looked small. Not powerful. Not beautiful. Just hollow. "You won, remember?" I said softly. "You wanted my life? Well, now you have it. All of it. Every ruined piece." And I walked out. People think revenge needs fire. They're wrong. It needs precision and silence. In the weeks that followed, I sold the apartment, deleted my social accounts, changed my number, and started over. I didn't block them. Blocking is mercy. I let them watch me rebuild, piece by piece, through the tiny fragments of my new life that still reach them through mutual friends. New city. New job. New calm. Every update about my success would be another reminder that they lost the one person who ever made them look good. That's the most efficient form of revenge. Thriving loudly, but living quietly. One night months later, Sophie sent me another message from an unknown number. A single line. "I miss you." I didn't reply, because the only response that matters is distance. She took my husband, my trust, my peace, but she'll never take my silence. Silence, I've learned, is the loudest revenge there is. People talk about healing like it's a finish line, as if one day you wake up, stretch, and the pain's gone. That's a lie. Healing isn't clean. It's a scar that keeps whispering every time you touch it. 6 months after I left, I moved to the coast. A small apartment overlooking the water, nothing glamorous, but it had light and silence and no ghosts. I started painting again. Not landscapes or portraits, just colors bleeding into one another, like emotions refusing to stay inside the lines. Most days were simple. Work, coffee, long walks. And for the first time in years, nobody called my name out of guilt or obligation. That kind of emptiness felt strange but peaceful. Once in a while, I'd see a photo of them online, Adam and Sophie, smiling, pretending the world had forgiven them. But I knew better. You can't build happiness on rot. Their smiles always looked tight, rehearsed, one bad breath away from collapse. A friend told me they tried counseling, that it didn't last. Apparently, Sophie accused him of emotional distance. I almost laughed. You sleep with someone's husband, and then mourn the absence of intimacy, irony's favorite trick. Still, I didn't celebrate. Their misery wasn't my victory anymore. It was justice breathing on its own. People keep saying I'm stronger now. Maybe. But strength isn't what they think. It's not confidence or power or a new haircut. It's waking up with the same memories and choosing to live anyway. Some nights, I still dream of that vineyard. The smell of white roses, the murmur of guests, the sound of betrayal threading through the music. I wake up drenched in sweat, my hand clutching air where a ring used to be. And for a second, the pain is raw again, like it never left. Then I breathe, and it passes. That's what healing looks like. Not gone, just quieter. Last week, someone new asked me out. A kind man, soft voice, eyes that don't search for weakness. I said yes, but with a smile that warned him. I don't believe in forever. Only in honesty. He didn't flinch. He just nodded, and for the first time, I felt curiosity instead of fear. Sometimes I walk along the pier at night and talk to the version of myself who wore the white dress. I tell her I'm proud of her, not for surviving, but for refusing to become what they made her. Because the real revenge was never the exposure, never the scandal. It was this peace. The kind that costs everything but is worth it. Love didn't die that night. It just changed shape. Now it lives in smaller things. A sunrise, a clean room, my own reflection not looking away anymore. The scar's still there. It always will be. But it's mine now, and that's the most beautiful part of all.